Good morning, this is Pastor Rick, and I want to welcome you to the Sunday Forum on this Sunday, June the 26th. Our topic for this morning is guns again. That's right, guns again. We discussed this topic 2 weeks ago on the Sunday Forum, really under the title, What Do Christians Bring to the Whole Conversation Around Guns Violence? And here's what happened. At the end of the forum on Sunday morning, one of the members came to me and said, Rick, we're not finished with that conversation. You got to do another one on gun violence. And when he said that, I wasn't so sure until this happened. And I got to tell you what happened here at church is that we were visited by the sheriff. And that's kind of what he does, along with the firefighters. They come around to check to see if all our infrastructure and equipment are safe and sound. And he wanted to see whether we had a facility that was safe for our kids against possibly mass shootings or someone coming in to do them harm in the building. And he was interested on how to protect our people on Sunday morning during worship. Okay, and I'm going to share what he shared with us in a moment, because he had some suggestions to make our experiences here, both the preschool experiences and other meetings, and especially Sunday morning, he had some suggestions to make us safer. But I'm going to share that at the end of the video. And yes, it involves guns. But let me say that since our last Sunday Forum on gun violence, I've learned some things because I've been listening to other Christian podcasts on gun violence. And many of them covered the same ground we did last time. They had some of the same statistics you remember. They lifted up some of the issues to debate. And after we discussed our topic on Sunday, even the Congress started to agreeing on a way forward, a modest way forward as far as gun safety regulation. But now here's two things that I've learned. One was a study that was done in 3 different states for 12 months, and they were trying to study what happens to guns in and around the home. So they're not interested in hunting, they're not interested in other form of gun use, but they wanted to say what happens to guns in and around the home. And they did this large study, and they found out 2 things came out very clearly. And they're sort of in conflict. The first is, if you own a gun, people who own guns and keep them at home say overwhelmingly that they feel safer. They just feel safer having that gun at home, and that's why they bought it in the first place. But secondly, the data suggests that a lot of accidents happen and that there's actually more violence that happens when you have a gun at home versus not. And they came, and there were over 533 cases in the study, again, in these 3 states over a year, where the gun was used at a home, in and around a home. And of the 533 cases, only 13 involved self-defense, which was the reason they bought the gun in the first place. 13, and actually 3 of those were involving official police action. And so what they determined is if you have a gun at home, it's 4 times more likely that there'll be an accidental shooting, obviously, versus not having a gun at home. 7 times more susceptible to criminal attack, and 11 times more vulnerable to suicides. And so there's the conflict, there's the tension. I feel safer when I have a gun at home, but then more violence takes place. So that was a study that was being addressed by several evangelical podcasts, and I took this one from the Holy Post podcast because I've used them in the past. But these podcasts and these conversations, especially in the evangelical community, so more conservative communities, also involve the topic of idolatry, and we didn't share anything about that term or that idea last time, and that Christians, we don't want anything to take that place of God, to become an idol in our lives. And here's the thing, only good things become idols, right? My family can become my idol, where I put my family above God, or my work, which is of course wonderful, but I could put that before God, or property, or my bank account. Of course, we always talk about money becoming an idol. All good things, but when this certain line is crossed, it becomes an idol. And that's especially in the evangelical community, where there's much more of a gun culture than in our own congregation, our own church. They're questioning whether that line has been crossed in many Christian communities, where now guns are not just a healthy part of daily life. It's not just a gun culture. It's become idolatrous in character. And so that's always the question we ask throughout life. Are the things that I love being treated properly within my Christian discipleship, or has a line been crossed toward idol worship? By the way, many of the podcasts had felt that many in the evangelical community had crossed that line. All right, so now let's turn it back to that visit from the sheriff. And he made many suggestions, but the two that we noticed right away is they've closed all our doors. We used to have a lot of doors opened, and they thought that that would give a mass shooter too free and quick of access to the preschool during the week. So he wants us to keep our doors closed, even when we're having events. And he gave Teresa and Gina other suggestions as well. But then he encouraged us to have protection on Sunday morning. And he thought someone should have a gun, someone should be protecting the worshipers on Sunday morning. Wow, we were a little surprised by that, but then he shared his expertise. He shared what other churches in the area were doing, and he felt then, whether it's a formal security guard or whether we find other arrangements, he's saying this is what churches are doing to prevent mass shootings on Sunday mornings. And so that's what we want to talk about at the Sunday Forum on Sunday 10:15. Please come and we'll discuss. First of all, should we have someone using a gun to protect us on Sunday morning? Yes or no? Again, you can come Sunday morning live, or if you're living outside of Naples now and hearing the podcast, send me an email. Yes or no? And secondly, if yes, should the guns be allowed in the sanctuary, or should we restrict them to outside in the breezeway? By the way, right now, you are not allowed to have a gun and come into our building. So that more applies to parents of the preschoolers. If they're picking up their preschool, they have to wait outside if they have a gun. So this might change depending on this debate. And we want to hear from you and your emails about your opinions. Again, if yes, how do you feel that should be done? The council has not decided. The council has not debated this yet. I mean, this is all just new information from the sheriff. And again, we want to hear from you on the Sunday Forum. Again, what do we bring as Christians to the conversation? But now, what do we do about this challenge from the sheriff? How do we approach this and make some decisions which keeps us safe as Christians in our worship here at Emmanuel? So thanks for joining us on the Sunday Forum. Give us your feedback. We look forward to it. Connect with the emails that you see below, and we'll hear from you really soon. Bye-bye now.